Capital Combat Parley, Lewis Hill, Garmamie Sido, and today we have a very special guest. Yes, we have a senior military combatives instructor, Lieutenant-Colonel Steve Burgess. How are you doing today, sir?
Hi, how are you today? Thanks for having me here today.
We're happy that you're here. Tell us a little bit about the Military Combatives Grappling Championship that happened recently in Petawawa.
Yeah, well, on the 24th of June, we had the fifth installment of the Military Combatives Grappling Championships. We refer to it as MCGC for short. And as I said, that was the fifth installment. We kicked it off in 2013 as really a way to create a tournament format to be able to safely yet competitively practice the hand-to-hand combat techniques, specifically the grappling portion of modern hand-to-hand combat. So we decided it was a way to kind of foster that combative spirit within the Canadian Armed Forces, but also be able to practice a useful military skill set. You've heard me speak about this before, but you know, we really talk, when we talk about combatives, we talk about it as one of the core military skill sets, the shooting being the other one, and fieldcraft. And the reason why I talk about that, so fieldcraft, for the folks who might not know that, is it basically is, you know, it's living out in the field, it's on military operations and all those things. But the reason why we refer to it as you know, core military skill sets is because these three skill sets are the only ones that actually save your life in combat. Everything else that you do is job specific, and it's not in and of itself a military skill set.
Now, I was at the Military Combatives Grappling Championships, and I was really impressed by the high-level grappling that I saw there, both male and female competitors, from beginners, intermediate, and advanced. It was outstanding. Tell us about the rules, because I really love the rules for this no-gi event. It's outstanding.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, it's interesting. We took an interesting approach to this. So again, it's one of those things that was in 2013 where I sat around with sort of a core group of planners, and we started to think about if we were going to do something like this, how would we actually do it? Because it has to stay within the spirit of combatives. Now, the spirit of combatives itself is really to do two things. It's to close with the enemy when required to do what needs to be done to win. But the second thing is to increase survivability, because that's really what it is. Because the difference between, you know, point fighting and tournaments and things like that is combatives is actually designed to increase your survivability.
It's such a different view from what I'm used to, you know, doing
exactly.
jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, so you don't get into that mindset that you're fighting for points or that you're trying to get a submission or a knockout or things like that. Yeah, of course, the techniques and tactics are essentially the same, but the end result is different. So to be able to foster that warrior mindset, to be able to do those things, we had to design a tournament in such a way that, one, ultimately it would be safe. It's no different than if we go to a range to practice with our firearms, whether it's carbines or pistols. Obviously, we're shooting at targets, you know, but we have to practice in such a way that it's realistic and it's how we would actually do it in combat. So in about 2012, like I said, we sat down with a kind of a core group of planners, and we figured, okay, how would we do this, but also be safe? So we knew that two things would have to happen. How people would compete, and that was really talking about the uniform itself. So that's why you'll notice at the tournament, combat pants were being worn, but it was t-shirts up top. So that's a combination, though, of both gi type fighting and no-gi type fighting. So as you saw, it makes it very fast, very competitive. So you have the folks that are able to, that are, you know, very good wrestlers or very good judoka, could do what they needed to do. But you could also see that, you know, the Brazilian jiu-jitsu types and people that come from that kind of a background, the sambo types as well, all those other types of ground-based martial arts would be able to use the pants much like you'd use a gi. So it combines those two aspects of what we call modern grappling today. But the rule set is designed in such a way to foster combativeness. Now, what I mean by combativeness is the relentless desire to win at all costs, no stalling. So we designed the rules in such a way that it would be very difficult to stall. So we had, you know, rules specifically addressing passivity and non-aggressiveness and things like that. And you saw at the tournament, you know, referees were very quick to be on top of competitors who were perceived as doing that.
It made each match extremely entertaining. Because
very fast-paced, very exciting to watch.
And even pulling guard, tell us about
So
that.
getting to pulling guard, so that's a big thing. And You know, myself as I'm a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I'm a black
And judo.
Yeah, I'm a black belt in judo. I'm a black belt in karate. I've been training for many, many years. So I completely understand as a professional martial artist myself. You know, aside from being a soldier, I completely understand. You know, the rule sets and how a lot of times rule sets are designed to foster a certain type of fighting, to push a certain kind of action. You know, just as judo concentrates really more on the throwing, so it's a little bit less emphasis on ground fighting in that. You know, so I completely get that. Now the problem is that in a life and death situation, in a combative environment, we always say you don't get a do-over. It's one shot.
That's right.
You have to win. So pulling guard, for example, and this might upset some of the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu folks and that, and my brothers and sisters in the martial arts. However, pulling guard is not a throw, it's not a takedown, and it makes absolutely no sense in a real fight. You would never
Agreed 100%. Thank you very much.
So at least one person agrees. Yeah, 'cause I might have offended some people out there, but at least you agree. At least you agree. But the reason why is because in a life and death situation, you would never purposely put yourself on the bottom. You have to dominate top position because we have a saying in combatives, and the U.S. military folks say the same thing. The person who wins the fight is the person whose buddies show up first. You don't have time, and you better not be on the bottom.
Yeah, I come from a small town. That's true.
Exactly. Yeah. So hopefully we've had no direct experience with that, but it's something that we understand is the reality of combat. So specifically to the rules, that's why you saw in the rule set we had two different types of throws: non-dominant and dominant. Now, dominant throw is an easy one. So 3 points for a dominant throw, and what that was, that's the clean throw. That's the clean wrestling takedown, the clean judo throw. You know, the perfect execution, all that. You know, what we judo will call a nippon throw, right? So perfect throw. Now, a non-dominant throw, which is for 2 points, is you actually initiate a takedown, you get the takedown or the throw, but you end up in the opponent's guard. You get a non-dominant throw. You still got the takedown, you still push the action, you got the fight to the ground. So where does guard pulling come into it? There was some talk at the beginning when we first set it up that what we would do is ban guard pulling. Now, my personal opinion is that I would love to see guard pulling banned. It's a bad habit. And in schools that do not teach throws and proper throws, as Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu folks, we like to say that 95% of all real fights go to the ground, but last time I checked, 100% start on their feet.
Right.
You have to get it there.
Yeah.
So you have to learn how to dominate the clinch and get the takedown or the throw. So when this first came up as a discussion point about ban guard pulling, the problem with that is there's a difference between someone pulling guard to protect themselves because they're being taken down, or someone purposely pulling guard. Now, sometimes it's obvious, and we see that all the time in competitions, but sometimes it's not so obvious. So I didn't want to get into a situation where someone would be accused of pulling guard and potentially DQ'd. It's very subjective.
Hence the dominant and non-dominant
exactly.
throws,
I wanted to take that kind of subjectivity because I didn't want it to have a referee being too involved in controlling a match. You know, the fighters need to fight. And it's the spirit of combativeness, and let the fighters fight.
I got to go to this tournament next time.
Yeah.
I'm telling you,
Totally, man.
there's an edge to it that I can feel you talking about it, just that life and death thing.
And I think fight fans would love to attend and watch the Military Combatives Grappling Championships.
So just to finish that part off with guard pulling, what the workaround was, we wouldn't ban guard pulling per se, but what we would do is whoever ends up either pulling guard or ending up a guard, the other opponent automatically gets 2 points for a non-dominant throw.
Nice.
Love that.
Because they're on top and they're now dominating the fight. That was the workaround. That was the compromise.
Very logical.
I love this rule set. Yeah.
So tell us, recently we heard that you will be competing. Yes.
Yes.
Sorry, I'm putting you on the spot here.
It's in. So I joined the military just a little over 15 years ago, and I've had a fantastic military career. I've worked both on the conventional side of the force, a lot of time with the special operations forces. So I've had a very, very interesting and fulfilling career. I always say that there's very few things in life that are worth doing, and I think that serving your nation in the Canadian Armed Forces is certainly one of those things. So I very much enjoyed it. Now, the unfortunate part of that, though, when you make any kind of a commitment like that, that really becomes priority number one, and that meant that competing and things like that have to go to the backside. The other thing was that with all of the involvement in combative training and that kind of that focus on that development of the force, I had to actively decide where I was going to put my effort. So that's what I chose. But you know, I've gotten the tournament itch again, and I've decided that you know, before I get way too old to compete, and before there's no Masters division that would actually be in my age category, I thought maybe I should come back to competition. So I've decided that at next year's World Masters, IBJJF World Masters in Las Vegas, that I will return to competition to fight for the world title there at 168 pounds.
That's incredible. And how old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm 46 years old.
46 years old, going to keep competing at the Worlds. Hey, man, thank you for coming on. This has been fantastic.
Thank you very much.